by the Jackson family in 1992, and we are accredited by the USDA for large carnivores, as well as accredited by the Global Federation of Animal Sanctuaries. Now, all of this means is that we do our utmost to care for our animals here, and we abide by all of the rules and regulations that they require. Now, all of the animals here at the refuge that you will see are all rescued. These are rescued from locations that were large facilities that used the animals for entertainment, and we'll get more into what that entails later in our tour. Or they were from private owners that used them as exotic pets. Now, once they come here to Turpentine Creek, this is their lifetime home. They don't ever have to leave, and we never make them do anything that they don't want to do, because they just get to hang out in the grass all day. Now, this is mostly because we are a true sanctuary. This means that we don't buy, sell, trade, or breed any of our animals here. And also, we are a no-contact facility. This means that we don't play or pet with any of our animals. And this goes without saying, we also never go into our habitats with any of our animals, because we respect them so that they can respect us. Now, once we get on our tour here today, please feel free to take photos and videos of anything that you would like. Once we exit the discovery area here, you are free to take your masks off on our tram. But thank you again so much for wearing them here in the discovery area. Our big cats can get COVID-19, and there have been cases of big cats getting COVID-19 in the DC Zoo already. So we're just making sure that they are safe and healthy while they're here with us today. So again, you are free to take those off once we're on the tram, because we have a distance from our cats once we get on there. When you're sitting on the tram, try to make sure that you're taking up as much space as possible on a seat, because we do have quite a lot of people. And if you're in a big group of 5 or more, Shelby will help you sit in a very particular seat so that it can fit as many people as we can. Just make sure that you're sitting behind the plastic there on the first tram. So if everybody's ready, we can stand up and get on going. Currently, our keepers are in there fixing up her habitat for her, but you can see what a white-nosed coatimundi would look like on her poster here, right by her habitat. Now, a white-nosed coatimundi, it may look like an anteater, but it's actually part of the raccoon family, and it is native to Central and South America. That's why she has a building here to keep her warm and toasty in our cold winters here. Now, white-nosed coatimundis are also arboreal, which means that they like to climb in trees, so she has a bunch of climbing equipment in there in her habitat. That's actually made from a fire hose donated from our local fire department. She is also omnivorous, which means that she likes to eat both meat and fruits and vegetables. So not only do we give her chicken every day, but we also scatter feed some fruits and vegetables into her habitat so that she can use that big long nose of hers to find her food like she would in the wild. Like I said earlier, we do have the Bengal and Siberian suites here, and the Siberian is the suite that has that window right into Fergie's habitat. Fergie right here is taking a cat nap in front of the tree. Now, Fergie is a female liger. Now, a liger is a hybrid between a lion and a tiger. That means that Fergie here had a lion father and a tiger mother. And we'll get more into hybrids a little bit later. But Fergie here was actually rescued from a big rescue in Colorado in 2016. Going, you can see on our other side, we have the habitat of Chief and Mari. And Mari is right here on the edge of the habitat, watching our keepers in Split's habitat. She absolutely loves stalking our interns and staff here. And if you ever see her, sometimes she will run along the fence with you, which is my personal favorite pastime if I have some extra time on my hands. So Chief and Mari here were rescued together from Indiana in 2020. So this particular facility, the owner actually had 120 animal rights violations against him at the time of the animal's rescue. And he was associated with Tiger King Park as well. So thankfully we worked with PETA, and they got a court-ordered case, and we were actually able to get these animals court-ordered to come and stay with us. But sadly, when these animals came to us, they were not in very good condition, because a lot of these facilities, not just this man's, but a lot of these facilities don't have very good veterinary care and or diet as well, like diets for their cats as well. So Chief, who you will see in the night house here, he's a male lion. Chief was actually extremely dehydrated and malnourished, and that's because he actually had intestinal parasites that were never taken care of at that previous facility. So there goes Mari chasing one of our interns. So Chief, thankfully, once he got here, we got him that vet care that he needed, and he's doing a lot better.
Like, come on, get in here.
Now Mari here, Mari had a condition of her own as well. This facility was known to also declaw their animals. Now, if you didn't know, all of your house cats, as well as these big cats, they can put their claws in and out at will. So sometimes they have their claws and sometimes they don't. But what this means is that they actually have to have that claw attached to a bone in their finger so that they can control it. So if you were to declaw an animal, it actually means an amputation of the last bone of their fingers, which is really, really sad. And these cats actually tiptoe. They actually tiptoe in the grass to be stealthy. So if you actually were to declaw these animals, they were no longer able to tiptoe like they're supposed to and have to walk on the flat of their foot. So walking on the flat of their foot means that these animals are really susceptible to arthritis and long-term pain because of this. And not only their wrists, but also their elbows and shoulders. So Miss Mari here does not have her claws anymore. She was declawed at this previous facility. And so we have her on a long-term pain management program to make sure that she is happy and healthy while she's here with us. But this is one of the realities of what these people do at their facilities to try to make the cats quote-unquote safer to handle. But may I remind you, these cats are at least 300 pounds and still have jaws and teeth that can still hurt you a lot. So taking their claws does not necessarily make them any safer to handle. It just causes these animals long-term pain.
Well, that wasn't very nice.
But these cats are doing super well. They had actually never touched grass before in their lives before coming here. So that was a really fun experience for us. And them as well. They love their grass. They love their toys here.
Oh yeah, look at all that food out there. Put me in here where I can't get to that food on that wagon.
The truck.
Look at it.
Shortly after we pass Chief and Mari, it belongs to our African servals. We have 5 African servals here, and you can see a picture of what they would look like on this poster here. They are smaller cats than lions and tigers, but they're still definitely bigger than a domestic house cat. We also have one Savannah cat as well in this habitat, and a Savannah cat is a hybrid between a serval and a regular domestic house cat. So that particular Savannah cat is quite a bit smaller than our servals, but definitely has all those wild instincts that a serval would have. Now, our servals don't necessarily like being around the public, but we may have one of them out. If he is, he's going to be in the far section of our enclosure here. They also like to hide from us, so if you see one, let me know. But these servals, all of them came from private owners. Oh, he's right along the fence here. His name is Whistler, and he's the only one that likes people, and so he's my favorite.
Where is he?
He's walking down the fence.
Servals, all of them came from private owners. And this is because a lot of people think that since they're smaller cats, they can have them in their house and it's going to be a great idea. But let me tell you why having a serval in your house is not a great idea. So servals can catch a bird mid-flight, jumping almost 10 feet in the air. This is why we have a top to their habitat. They could definitely jump out if they wanted to. Their bite force is also 3 times that of a domestic house cat, so that would definitely hurt if they bit you. They also spray to mark their territory 20 to 40 times an hour. So that would get very stinky very fast in your house. So once these private owners realize that these cats don't make very good house pets, there are 3 options that these cats should go through. So one, they're given straight to a facility like ours, and that's the one that we prefer. Sadly, one of the other options is that they get euthanized because the owners don't know what to do with cats. And the other option is that they get let out into the wild where they don't belong and unable to take care of themselves. And this is what happened to Whistler here, actually. So if you see, ears are kind of shorter than they're supposed to be. And that is because he actually was let out into a Colorado winter. These are African cats. They are definitely not used to that kind of temperature. And so Whistler here was housed with 2 other servals, and they were all let out into the Colorado winter. And sadly, the 2 other ones didn't make it because they just aren't used to that kind of temperature. Whistler here actually got frostbite on the tips of his ears, and that's why he's missing those parts in his ears. But thankfully, Colorado Fish and Game found him in time, got him to us, and now he's having a grand old time here in his grassy habitat that he pretty much stays in alone because all the other cats like the building more than they do the grass. But again, these cats, although they might be cute, although they might be small, definitely have all of those wild instincts of the big cats and are definitely not great house pets. They're both lions.
Oh, there he is.
Daniel is a lion and
See him right there?
Chloe is a female lioness, and they're going to be up at the top of their habitat.
Yeah, see him?
See that Chloe is kind of a little bit upside down, and Daniel is kind of a floof in the grass, and they're definitely just taking a cat nap in the sun on this a little bit cold day. Our lions are very particular about their weather. They don't like the rain, they don't like the cold, and they like and they don't like the hot days. So it's kind of like a very slim, narrow part of the weather that they enjoy. So they're trying to get warm in the sun up there. So Daniel and Chloe here were rescued from Colorado in 2016. And a lot of our animals were actually rescued at the same time because this is one of our largest rescues here at Turpentine Creek. So a man had a cancer diagnosis and was no longer able to take care of the animals at his facility. Now this facility actually had 115 big cats at it. And so we worked with a bunch of sanctuaries around the country to save all of these cats from this facility. And 34 came here to Turpentine Creek, and the other 81 went to other reputable sanctuaries around the U.S. And this was one of the biggest animal rescues in history at the time.
There he is.
So this facility had 115 animals because we think that they were running a pay-for-play program. Now, a pay-for-play program is kind of exactly how it sounds. The public could pay to play with a baby lion or tiger cubs. And because of the need cubs for this kind of program, this means that these facilities have to be continuously breeding, which is why this facility had so many animals. So again, pay-for-play programs, we'll talk about them a little bit later, but they're definitely not good for these animals because they're just being used for entertainment and they're just being bred to make money. But we're glad that we're here and they get to sit in the sun all day and do whatever they would like. Now here up next we have a pure white tiger named Robbie. Now a pure white tiger means not only is he white, but he actually has absolutely no stripes. So he is pure white. Now Robbie here has a very unique story. He was rescued from Oklahoma with a couple other big cats that we meet along the way. But Robbie was a very obese cat when we met him. Tigers are supposed to be somewhere between 200 and 600 pounds, which is already pretty heavy. And Robbie was over that 600 pounds. We don't have a good estimate, but probably 700.
Oh my gosh.
And so we worked on him. We worked with him, giving him lots and lots of toys and getting him on a good diet. And so he's worked off almost 100 pounds and he's doing a lot better now. He's still a big guy, but he is now happy and healthy. So we really do never know what kind of state the animals are going to be in when they get to us. They can be like Chief, extremely malnourished and dehydrated, or they can be like Robbie, who get really overweight because the owners don't know what to feed them or overfeed them in hopes that they will be more easier to handle if they're not ever hungry.
That's true. Excellent.
Now we have Savannah. I don't know if you guys will be able to see her very well, but you might
see
be
a
able to see her
foot.
leg poking up from the log.
Right there. Right behind the log.
Here's
See
one
her?
of my favorites. She actually had a birthday just last week and she just turned 9 years old. For all of our cats here, the interns like to throw them every a birthday party, so we will give them boxes that are painted in some kind of theme. We'll give them popsicles made of chicken or blood, and we will also give them spices and perfumes and streamers sometimes. So we do make sure that they feel very happy on their first days.
It's so awesome. You just
Living their good
pastime
life.
and sleep.
We have quite a few lions here. We'll see that on our loop that we have quite a few more. Now, in the wild, lions would live in a group called a pride, and usually that would be made up of one male and multiple females. Now, here at Turpentine Creek, we have rescued more than one male, so we can't put all of our lions together and in hopes of them being all happy, because that wouldn't necessarily work. But that doesn't mean that they don't have a relationship. All of the cats can kind of see each other through all the fencing and can smell each other definitely. We have kind of a pseudo pride going here, and they all like to communicate through caroling. Now, caroling is what the sound that the lions make to communicate with each other. This can be for purposes for mating, but it can also be a warning signal for if there's a danger or something unexpected happening. And so they do like to carol, and most of the time this happens at dawn and dusk, because our big cats, even though they sleep 18 to 20 hours a day, are most active at the dawn and dusk time. So again, if you would like to stay with us over in our lodging, that is the best possible way for you to hear those communications. But it's really fun. They also like to be tattletales on us, so if anyone ever gets their vaccination, they like to start caroling and tell on us, and all the cats go in hiding. But yeah, they use this in the wild, and they still use it here to communicate with all their other lion friends here. Also, some of our tigers like to join in as well, which is always fun to hear. Here's Habitat. I don't see Shakira, but Bosco is right here on the platform. Shakira is a pure white tiger like Robbie that we saw, and Bosco is a white tiger, so he still has those stripes. I just noticed her, Shakira is in this far corner, so once we drive a little bit more, you'll be able to see her. So Shakira and Bosco have a story connected with that Colorado rescue. So these two were very important to the Colorado rescue. A nickname that we often give Shakira is Mama, because she was rescued with 7 of her cubs from Colorado. And we think that these two were used for speed breeding. So in the wild, a mama tiger would usually have cubs every 2 years, and spend that whole 2 years making sure they're well cared for, teaching them what it is to be a tiger. And then after the 2 years, they'll go their separate ways. Now, in speed breeding cases, the owners will take the cubs away right after they are born. And so the mama tiger is like, oh, I don't have cubs anymore, and is ready to breed again right away. So Shakira here was actually forced to have 4 litters in that 2 years that she's only supposed to have 1. Now, this is not only bad for her as a mom, because that's definitely way more kids than she's supposed to be having in that time, but it's also bad for the kids, because these cubs are being taken away from their moms way too soon. So they're not getting the milk they need, they're not learning how to be a tiger, and usually they're used in these pay-for-play industries where the cubs are taken away and then given to members of the public to take pictures of, to get pet, to get bottle fed. And so they have to do this all day, every day, when they're just supposed to be sleeping with their mom. So sadly, the most common medical occurrence in these little cubs is called metabolic bone disease. And it's because they don't get their mom's milk. And it makes their bones extremely brittle. Now, being handled by the public again and again with these extremely brittle bones means that their bones get broken all the time. One of the litters that Mama here had, their names are Blackfire, Peyton, and Rockland. And if you went down our bear tunnel, which is that center tunnel at the end of the Discovery Center, you may have seen them. They are triplets. Now, they had 15 fractures between the 3 of them when they were rescued. And they were unable to walk on their back legs because of this metabolic bone disease and because of their broken bones. Now, thankfully, once they got here to Turpentine Creek, we were able to rehab them, and now they are able to walk and play like tigers should, but we got to them just in time. And a lot of these tigers, if left in these facilities, would probably just waste away until they couldn't eat and probably would have died. Some of the animals, also, these cubs are only able to be used between the ages of 4 weeks old and 12 weeks old. So when they kind of graduate the program, a lot of these owners don't know what to do with them. they just want to lay in the grass all
she's got
day, and they just want to be close and be with their
face.
mom. And so
Up by her ears.
we are super glad that we get to let them do that once they get here at Turpentine Creek. The Rescue Ridge. Now, Rescue Ridge was created due to a rescue that we did in Mountainburg, Arkansas in 2012. And this lady needed to rehome 28 tigers, and we didn't have space enough for them. So we had 128 days to create habitats and to rescue them from Oklahoma, and we managed to do it. And so now we have Rescue Ridge. So it's a flat ground area that has 120 habitats, and this place is now used as our retirement facility. So all of the cats that we rescued from that Oklahoma rescue were kind of old, and so they all have since passed away. But some of our animals are getting old too, our other animals from other rescues, and they're also, some of them don't really like the public, and so we send them to have a peaceful life over in Rescue Ridge. If you would like a private tour of that area or want to see more about it, there's some more information online. We also recently added 2 all-natural bear habitats. There's 3.5 acres in total, and so the bears get to forage for their own food, make their own dens in these beautiful wild habitats. Now here we have Ngala. She's sitting right here, and we have Glacier up against the fence. Now this is an unlikely pairing, a female lioness and a male white lion. But these 2 were rescued together from the same facility. Now we would only house 2 animals together in the exact same enclosure if they were from the same facility, because they already know each other, and we know that they're going to be happy and healthy together. These 2 are a very cute couple and my personal favorite. So these 2 were rescued together from Colorado, and we think that they were being used to create hybrids. So I talked that a little bit with Fergie, but if Fergie was a liger, so that means her father was a lion and her mother was a tiger. Now here we have a male tiger and a female lion. So if you bred these 2 together, you would actually get what's called a tigon. Now all these made-up words and unique combinations are made by these breeders who use them in the paper plate industry to make more money. Because the more unique and the more weird that you can make the cat, the more money the public will pay to play with them. But these hybrids are not supposed to be created. They're not real in the wild. Tigers and lions don't exist in the same part of the wild unless you go to a very small portion of India. And they don't really hang out together anyways in the wild, because lions, like I said, live in prides. They like to have a lot of people around. And tigers are actually live solitary life unless they're mating. So there would be no real reason for lions and tigers to exist in the wild together. Now, if you were to breed ligers or tigons, all of the male ligers or tigers and tigons are actually sterile, so they can't have any kids. And the females are only about 50% fertile, but that 50% gives these breeders just enough chance to actually create ligers, tigons, and tigons, because we need more complicated birds. And again, more unique, more money per pup. But some of these facilities try to convince people that these ligers and tigons are being bred to create a species and to conserve them. So let me remind you again, these don't exist in the wild. Also, if you were to put a bunch of ligers out in the wild, they wouldn't actually be able to make more liger babies. Because again, those males are sterile. They can't have kids. So if you ever find a facility that's trying to convince you of that, remember, they're not an actual species, so they can't be conserved. But may I remind you, we are a true sanctuary here, so we don't let any of our animals breed. So if you do see 2 animals in a habitat together, that likely means that the male has either had and been neutered or had a vasectomy. We give vasectomies to our male lions because if you were to neuter them, their entire mane would fall out and they would look like a girl. I don't think any of our female lionesses would like that very much. So to keep their dignity, we give them a vasectomy instead of neutering them.
I didn't know that. It's kind of interesting.
That is kind of interesting.
Down here, we're going to have habitats on either side. So down in this far habitat down the hill, she
Still
likes
on
to
foot.
stare at her other friends on either side, so she is probably looking at someone else. But Remington here is on the platform. So Luna and Remington are a girl and boy pair that are both white tigers, and they were rescued from Florida in 2020. They were actually from a facility that had a swim with a tiger program. Now this is often run alongside pay-for-play programs, and swim with a tiger sounds exactly what it is. The public was allowed to pay to swim with a tiger in a pool. Personally, I find that very, very crazy and kind of scary.
I just want to love one.
But if you don't, let me convince you of it. Tigers are some of the best swimmers in the cat kingdom. They also tend to drown their prey to make sure it's dead. So that might happen to you if you decide to swim with a tiger.
Yeah,
But
okay.
again, this is not what tigers are meant to do. They do love swimming, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they're supposed to do it all day, every day. So we worked with PETA for almost 2 years to get them out of that facility. And now they are hanging out in their habitat. They do often have a pool when it's warmer in the warmer months. But that doesn't mean that they are in it every single day, and they get to choose when they are in it or not. Once we're looking down this hill, you'll see Karma. Karma is a female liger. She's actually behind the stump in the far corner. I don't know what she's looking at, but I'm sure it's interesting. She is a female liger again, so she looks like something between a lion and a tiger. But ligers in particular actually have some medical issues that go along with being a liger. And so ligers actually can grow to be too big for their bodies to handle. They will continuously grow for their entire lives. This is because male lions have a gene that causes that, and usually female lions have a gene to turn it off. But because these ligers have mothers that are tigers, they don't have that gene to turn it off. And so they just continuously grow. The biggest liger that was ever had on the planet was 912 pounds, and he was 11 feet tall when standing on his back legs. If you need an example of 11 feet, our silver cave here is 12 feet with a 3-foot jump barrier, so we'd almost be able to touch the top of that. So thankfully, all of our ligers are doing really well, and we make sure that we get vet checks on them all the time to make sure that they're happy and healthy. But this is definitely something that we have to worry about
Well,
with
I see
our
her.
ligers.
She's walking down there.
Up here in this habitat, they're not coming out to play today, but there is Manny and Simba. Simba is a male lion, and Manny is another female liger. Actually, Simba is kind of just a fluke in the grass on the edge of the
see her right
habitat there.
A brown
And
lump.
Manny and Simba were rescued also from Tiger King Park
Brown
this
lump. That's
summer.
what they are.
They got a lot of the
All right, we'll
Lion
look up the hill
King.
before looking down. If you look up the hill, you will see Montana sitting on the platform.
Okay.
And he shares this habitat with his brother named Poncho. Now, Montana and Poncho were rescued from
Killed
that
a
big
lot of
Colorado
tigers.
rescue.
A lot of tigers. In that tiger
And
place.
if we look down the hill,
Down the
we'll
hill.
have the habitat of, oh, there he is, Tigger and Floyd. Tigger is on the platform here, and Floyd is walking along the bottom of the habitat. Tigger
there
is
he is.
definitely a fan favorite, not only with our
There he
visitors,
is.
but with also our guests, because he is quite beautiful. Now, Tigger here has a very specific coloration. He's not a white tiger, and he's not an orange tiger. He's something in the middle. And so they created a name for him. He's called a strawberry tiger.
Oh, looky.
Now, this specific coloration is due to a genetic
Like a
mutation
giant
that
stick.
causes those black stripes that he's supposed
Tiger
to have
laying
not
there,
be
didn't
there, because they cannot produce a black pigmentation. So his stripes look gorgeous.
Love the
Now,
face.
bear in mind, these stripes are actually meant to be on there because in the wild, these stripes make these cats look smaller. In the eye of a prey item, when they're in the forest with these stripes, they look smaller, they look shorter, and so the prey doesn't think that they're as dangerous as they actually are.
Oh, see, they are.
Together this afternoon. Now, we have seen quite a few white tigers here on our tour today, and I want to dispel any ideas that you might have about white tigers. So white tigers, they're not Arctic tigers. They're also not albino tigers. White tigers are just a genetic mutation that instead of being orange, they're white. Now, actually, fun story about white tigers. So, a man in India went on a hunting party in 1951 and found a white tiger cub and decided to take it home because it looked cool. And then he had the tiger grow up and he decided to breed it with an orange tiger to try to see if he could make more white tigers. And that didn't quite work, and so he bred the white tiger with his daughters and his daughters' daughters and kept going until he finally was able to make enough white tigers. And then he sold those white tigers to people in the U.S. and they started showing up in zoos. Now, to inbreed them. And so this causes a lot of medical issues with white tigers. The most common issue that we see here at Turpentine Creek is that they actually have crossed eyes, so they look like they're looking at their nose. Other common symptoms of being a white tiger can also be cleft palate or other organ deformities, and they're also at a high risk for melanoma because they don't have that orange pigment to protect them from the sun. So, again, he had to breed all these animals, and then he brought them to the U.S. to be sold. And so any white tigers that you see here at Turpentine Creek in the U.S. or even in the world are all actually related to that one single white tiger that was found in India in 1951.
A lot of babies.
Now here we have the habitat of Lila and Opie. You might be able to see Lila. She's decided to take a nap right against the fence up at the top of the hill. And that's right next to Opie, which makes sense because they do really love each other's company. Opie is an orange tiger and Lila is a lioness. So this definitely is another weird combo that we have here. But they were rescued from Piper King Park and they were rescued together, and so they are allowed to spend time with each other. Now, as we're rolling on by, you might be able to see that Lila has knocked all of her toys to the bottom of the hill that our interns kindly rolled up the hill for her just a few days ago. If you were wondering, those giant balls, actually that's not the biggest size ball we have. That's actually a medium-sized ball. You might be able to see a bigger one. But those really big balls are very heavy. We have had interns be like Indiana Jones by a large ball before, and it's very much not fun, but we do it for the tigers, and they absolutely love those balls, and they can hit them around like it is absolutely no problem. They can just walk it up the hill in their teeth, and it is quite fascinating to watch. So we have all these toys in there for permanent enrichment. This allows the cats to play and be tigers. They also all have platforms that they can sharpen their claws on, like any house cat would. You might be able to see that we sometimes have fencing around our trees, and that's because they would like to sharpen their claws on our trees. But we also want to keep our trees alive so that we can have some shade for our pets. So we make sure that they can't scratch them with that fencing, but we make sure to put some logs and stumps like you see in this habitat in there for them to sharpen their claws on. Now this habitat belongs to Miles and Snowball. Snowball was rescued from Colorado while Miles was rescued from Indiana. And Snowball is a particularly large cat, but he's also a very particularly playful cat. If you looked in the discovery area, there are quite a few toys in there that are quite destroyed.
she
And
is.
these two were rescued together from Tiger King Park just this summer. Now lions
Now
also,
we
there
know
is a
where
reason
all
for
the
their
tigers-
coloration as well. In their habitat in the African savanna, their grasses would be a light yellow or tan color, and so they blend right into those grasses. They also like to stalk their prey by being as flat to the ground as possible. And so they still do that here to all of our interns and like to stalk us, but we just keep it a secret that our grass is green and that we can see them. Now here we're coming up on Chuff and Athena, who are out in the habitat right now, and Abigail is up in her night house. Chuff is the one sitting right here by the rock, and Abigail is going to be up on her platform soon. Now these guys have a very particular story. So they were rescued from Branson, Missouri in 2009, along with our white-nosed Quadamundee that you met way in the beginning of our tour. Now, Chuck, Abigail, and Athena were housed together in a habitat, and this particular facility actually allowed not only their staff and interns, but also the public to go inside the habitats with their animals. So one day, a 16-year-old boy went into the habitat. He was a volunteer, and he was told to get a picture for a member of the public. But sadly, once he went into the habitat, he actually slipped and fell. Now, these big cats are ambush predators, which means that they like to attack anything that's small, that's old, or that looks hurt. And this is exactly what that boy looked like when he slipped. So they attacked him using those ambush predator instincts. And thankfully, he actually survived this incident. He is now actually paralyzed from the waist down. Now, usually when tigers attack humans, they're actually euthanized, because they attacked a human and we can no longer allow them to live. This is not my personal rule, but this is the rule of a lot of animal people out there. And so, usually these animals are euthanized just for using these instincts that they're born with to attack things that look weak. Now, thankfully, this man is super nice, and he actually advocated for these animals to live because he lived, and he thought that they deserved a second chance. And so they were able to be placed here with us to be able to live out their lives like they should as tigers. So now they get to have a beautiful habitat and no one has to bother them